Mến chào tất cả quý vị khán thính giả. Hôm nay là cái poll vừa mới ra khoảng 1 tiếng đồng hồ giữa ông cựu tổng thống Donald Trump cũng như bà đương kim phó tổng thống Kamala Harris trong cái thăm dò tranh cử 2024. Nói bằng tiếng Anh có phụ đề Việt ngữ.
Chance at returning to the White House, while Harris has just a 47% chance at being elected the next president. And so in this video, we'll be taking a look at the 2024 electoral map based on Polymarket state-by-state odds to see where Harris and Trump stand on the all-important path to 270 electoral votes. We'll begin by filling in the solid states for both candidates. These are states where either Harris or Trump have a 95% chance or more of winning this November. And so starting off with the safe blue states, we have Washington, Oregon, California, Colorado, Hawaii, Illinois, and most of the Northeast, including New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, which barely made the 95% cut, as well as Delaware, Maryland, the District of Columbia, and the 1st District of Maine. For Trump, he is going to easily carry Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, North and South Dakota, all of Nebraska except the 2nd District, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, and South Carolina. And so with all the solid states filled in, Harris takes an early lead with 191 electoral votes to Trump at 122, but we still have many states to go over, and Trump is going to receive a big boost from his likely states. Likely states are categorized by odds between 75 to 95% for either candidate. These states are going to be significantly more competitive than the solid states, but either Harris or Trump still do maintain a noticeable advantage. And so beginning with the likely blue states, we have Minnesota. This is Governor Tim Walz's home state. Walz was recently chosen to be Harris's running mate. And looking at the graph, you can see just how low the odds went for Biden before he dropped out last month. In fact, at one point, he had just a 56% chance at winning a state Democrats haven't lost since 1972. And so by choosing Walz as her running mate, Harris has sort of avoided disaster in Minnesota, and that is why she is the favorite. She has a 94% chance at winning. Minnesota is going to be a likely blue state. We also have New Mexico, a state where Republicans are probably going to outperform their 2020 margin when they lost by nearly 11 points. Kamala Harris has a 91% chance at winning. Before Biden dropped out, the odds for Democrats in the state went down to just a 2 in 3 chance. And so as Hispanic voters continue to shift away from Democrats, they are going to have more and more trouble winning states like New Mexico, which have a Hispanic majority electorate. And so today, Harris is the favorite, but she isn't in the most comfortable position. A 10% chance for Trump is not insignificant, but as of right now, Harris is the favorite, and we will be giving her the state's 5 electoral votes. Next up, we have Virginia, a state Biden probably would have lost if he had stayed in the race. In fact, the odds for the incumbent president here went as low as 57% right before he dropped out. But with Kamala Harris down the race, Democrats are doing slightly better. They have an 85% chance at holding on to a state that they won by a double-digit margin 4 years ago. Virginia was shifting to the left throughout most of the early 2000s and the 2010s. However, in just the last 4 years, it has shown signs of going back to the right. Before 2008, Virginia was a generally conservative state. However, in 2021, despite having gone to the left for over a decade, the state elected a Republican governor in Glenn Youngkin, and so Trump is on track to performing better than he did here 4 years ago, as polling for Harris in Virginia hasn't been the greatest. So the Commonwealth of Virginia is also going to be likely blue, and so will New Hampshire, a state that has been close in the past, especially in 2016. Trump came within half a percentage point of defeating Hillary Clinton in the Granite State. But today, Kamala Harris does have a slight edge with an 82% chance at holding on to a state Biden won by 7 points in the last election. And the final likely blue state is going to be the state of Maine. Its 2 at-large votes are expected to go to the vice president. She has an 83% chance at winning here, so Maine will be likely blue, and so will the 2nd District of Nebraska. Kamala Harris has a 78% chance at holding on to the district that Biden flipped in 2020. Before we continue, only 12% of you guys are actually subscribed, so please take the time to subscribe right now for more content like this leading up to the election in November, and follow me on Twitter for daily political updates, link in the description below. We're now going to get into the likely states for the former president, states he has between a 75 to a 95% chance at winning. And so some of these are going to be pretty obvious. I mean, starting off in Alaska, of course, Trump is going to win here for a 3rd time in a row. He has a 91% chance at holding on to the state, so Alaska is going to be likely red. We also have Iowa and Ohio, 2 states that used to be part of the Obama coalition in both 2008 and 2012. In 2008, Obama won Iowa by nearly 10 points and Ohio by nearly 5. In 2012, he did slightly worse, but still won them by comfortable margins. Fast forward just 4 years, in 2016, Trump flips both of these states and wins them by larger margins, Iowa by 9.4, Ohio by 8.1. They are now firmly within the Republican categories. Just look at Iowa, Trump has a 92% chance at winning. Ohio, Trump has an 88% chance at victory. So there's no doubt Trump is going to win Iowa and Ohio for a 3rd time in a row. The 2nd District of Maine, Trump has a 78% chance at holding on to, so it's going to be likely red, and we are left with 2 more states that will fall into the likely Trump category. I think they're pretty obvious what they are. We have Texas and Florida, a combined 70 electoral votes. These 2 states make up a huge chunk of Trump's final electoral tally, and you see here he basically ties up Harris with just victories in the 2nd and the 3rd largest states in the country by population. Starting off with Texas, Trump has an 87% chance at winning the Lone Star State for a 3rd time in a row. Republicans haven't lost Texas since 1976, and the state is still very conservative. Democrats want you to think they can win it, but that's pretty unlikely. In 2020, when Trump was supposed to win Texas by 1%, he ended up winning by nearly 6. Democrats put hundreds of millions of dollars into advertising in Texas. The state is not going to flip blue for at least a few decades, and by the time it does, Republicans are going to have completely taken over the Midwest, so it does balance out in favor of the GOP. Texas is going to remain likely red, while Florida has not voted for any candidate by a likely margin since 2004. The elections here in both 2008 and 2012 were very competitive. It was close in 2016 as well. Trump won by 3 points in 2020. However, in just the last 4 years, Florida has probably shifted to the right by nearly 8 to 10 points. Its governor and one of its senators were reelected in 2022 by 19 and 16-point margins. Trump is probably going to win Florida by nearly 10 points, and that is why he has an 84% chance at holding on to the Sunshine State, a state that used to always be one of the top battlegrounds. Today, it's barely mentioned. Florida is a red state, and it's easily going to go to the former president. And so with just the lean and tilt states remaining, Harris leads 226 to 219, but Trump is going to take back the lead with his lean states. Lean states are states where either candidate has between a 55 to a 75% chance at winning. So these states really could go both ways. Upsets are more than possible here, but one candidate still maintains a very slight edge. And so we're going to begin in North Carolina, where Donald Trump won by 1% in 2020. Joe Biden lost the state by a very narrow margin. This may not seem like it's the best for the former president, but if Trump couldn't win North Carolina in 2020 amidst a very positive electoral environment for Democrats, it's very unlikely Harris is going to be able to do what Biden couldn't 4 years ago. North Carolina has only gone blue once since 1976, and that was Barack Obama's victory in 2008 when it was the closest state in the entire country. Today, Trump has a 60% chance at holding on to the Tar Heel state and winning it for a 3rd time, and he is probably going to do so. North Carolina will fall into the lean Republican column. And we also have its neighbor, Georgia. The Peach State is generally conservative. It re-elected its Republican governor, Brian Kemp, by a likely margin in 2022, and it just narrowly went to Biden by a quarter of a percentage point 4 years ago. In fact, prior to 2020, Trump won Georgia by over 5 points in 2016. And so Trump is probably going to take the Peach State back this November, just like in North Carolina. There's no way Harris is going to do better than Biden, and that is what the market is thinking as well, as Donald Trump has a 60% chance to win here as well. So Georgia, the Peach State, will be the final lean Republican state on our map. For Harris, she is the slight favorite in 2 of these upper Midwestern states. These 3 states are going to be among the most important. Kamala Harris has to win all 3 of them if she wants to clinch the presidency. If Trump even just wins 1 out of the 3, it's very unlikely that Harris can cross 270 electoral votes. Some very surprising things are going to have to happen. And so beginning in Wisconsin, Kamala Harris has a 57% chance at winning. This is traditionally been the most conservative out of the 3 upper Rust Belt states, but today it seems that people think Wisconsin is going to vote to the left of Pennsylvania. But a 57% chance is not too significant. Trump still has an over 4 in 10 chance at winning. And so this race really is a toss-up. Republicans have a good chance here too. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens, because remember in 2016, nobody thought that Republicans were going to be able to flip these upper Midwestern states. That's why Clinton didn't campaign in Wisconsin for 6 months before the election in November. And I mean, these 3 states were supposed to easily fall into the blue column, but they ended up going for Trump, and Trump really did do very well in the Midwest 8 years ago. He flipped nearly the entire thing. I mean, just look at the contrast from 2012 to 2016. In 2020, yes, Biden won the 3 blue wall states back, but by very narrow margins. In fact, Biden's margin in Wisconsin in 2020 was lower than Trump's from 2016. But as of right now, Kamala Harris has given Democrats some momentum, and so she still holds on to the state. But if things continue to progress as they have been over the last 2 weeks, Trump is probably going to take the lead in the betting markets here very soon. But as of right now, Wisconsin is going to be lean Democratic. We also have its neighbor Michigan. The Wolverine state is on track to go to Harris with a 63% chance that she in fact wins. And so out of the 3 blue wall states, Michigan tends to be the most liberal. It's probably going to vote to the left of both Wisconsin and Pennsylvania for a 3rd time in a row. But as of right now, it's still going to be close. Trump still has a very good chance, but Harris is ever so slightly the favorite. Into the 3 remaining states are the 3 tilt states, and before we fill those in, both Harris and Trump are tied at 251 electoral votes. And so these tilt states are states where either candidate has less than a 55% chance at winning, so the odds will range from 50 to 55 for the favorite. We're going to begin in Nevada, where Trump has taken back the lead. He now has a 54% chance at flipping a state he's never won before. In fact, no Republican has won Nevada since 2004, and it would be a pretty big blow to Democrats if they do in fact lose the silver state. Now, this is not impossible, though, because Republicans did win the governorship in 2022, even though the incumbent Democrat was in the race. So Nevada generally has been shifting to the right, and it could very well go in favor of the former president this November. We also have neighboring Arizona, where Democrats won very narrowly in 2020 by just 0.31%. And just like Georgia, it doesn't take all too much for Trump to be able to win these 2 states back. And that's why right now he is the favorite. He has a 53% chance at taking a state he won by nearly 4 points back into his column. And so Arizona will be tilt Republican too, and this will put Trump just 2 electoral votes away from the White House. And finally, we're left with just Pennsylvania, which will decide the outcome of the election. If Trump wins it, he's basically guaranteed to be the next president, even if Harris comes out on top in states like Arizona and Nevada. Pennsylvania is just that important for the Harris campaign, but unfortunately for her, Donald Trump is once again the favorite in the Keystone State. He has a 51% chance at winning. Republicans lead Democrats by just 1%. This is due to a rounding error. That's why it's over 100. But Pennsylvania right now is on track to go to the GOP based on where people's money are. So the state will be tilt red, and it will give Trump enough electoral votes to clinch the presidency for a second time, with 287 electoral votes to Harris at 251. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like.
Đó thì cái poll ngày hôm nay thì rất là ngang ngửa với nhau đó. Cái tiểu bang Pennsylvania là cái tiểu bang rất là quan trọng để thắng. Thì tổng thống Trump thì ông được 287 và Kamala Harris là 251. Nhưng mà đến sau cái đại hội đảng thì bà Kamala Harris bà sẽ tăng lên một chút nữa. Thì sau đó sẽ là quân bình. Thì một bầu cử năm nay đó thì nó cũng rất là ngang ngửa với nhau đó. Chứ không phải là